All right. Well, hi, Contrella. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. This is the first IO student meetups of 2025. So this is super exciting. Hi, Diana. I'm so glad to see you. Okay, focus. And so today you're going to be here talking to us. So let me back up. The reason why I spoke to you earlier, last month. The reason why I invited our guest today was because I feel like starting a new year, a lot of things happening, a lot of us are in many different places in our professional and personal career in life. And I thought her story and her background and just everything in between was a very good starting point for the meetup again. So, Contrella, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time.
you.
And tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you want to share with us?
Okay, so first, I'm a game person for sure. So first, I want to start with an icebreaker. So if you got a pen and paper, you don't need one, but just three little questions. So my first thing is I want you to pick a color and tell me why you picked that color. The second thing is going to be pick an animal and why you picked that animal. And the third thing is a body of water and why did you pick that body of water. So again, it's a color, an animal, and a body of water and why you picked those three things. So I'll give you a few seconds.
So, a color and animal.
And a body of water.
Okay.
Okay, so based on the color you pick, that's how you see yourself. So the color you picked is how you see yourself. The animal you picked is how others see you or a quality about yourself that you value. And then the body of water you pick is your attitudes towards life. So if you pick the river, that means like you like to go fast. You know, ocean is kind of mellow with slight waves depending on where you are. And you know, your animal, just how you feel about your, how others just trait. Like, I like lions. So it's like I'm a very fierce person. No Beyonce needed. And then also my color is pink. I'm such a girly girl and I just love everything love and just giving. So again, that's why I like to do icebreakers, just because I'm a little nervous too. So I'm be honest, but that's one of my favorite icebreakers. It's a way to just break the ice and kind of get a conversation going because I'm all about conversation. So that'll get me into my story. So um, as you all probably know, if you see my LinkedIn, I'm actually giving up a 10-year career in chemistry. Got my undergrad in chemistry, got a bachelor of science in chemistry. I worked in industry right out of college, did 10 years as a chemist, and I was in the workplace and realized, hey, I'm a resource to people. People are coming to me with questions. I'm a resource. I can help them get stuff done. I'm working between departments. I'm doing everything, my job and more stuff. So I was like, hey, kind of doing this. Actually, in undergrad, I actually had an interest in psychology, but parents was like, hey, you're not gonna make any money doing that. They didn't know. The pandemic came and everybody need therapy. So I kept doing chemistry because I wanted to be a pharmacist. Did a summer internship in a pharmacy, hated it. So, but I was too deep into my chemistry degree to stop now. So I went in the industry. I actually did a lot with my chemistry. I worked in aerospace, I worked in oil and gas, I worked in the food industry, I worked in toxicology. Like I was a renaissance chemist. So I did everything. But I always had this passion for psychology. The pandemic came, I got into therapy, there's a lot going on. And I was like, hey, I want to do psychology. Looked at psychology. I couldn't commit 200 hours to be a psychiatrist. I was like, hey, I don't have the time. I don't want to do it. So then my employer actually had an IO psychologist on staff. And so I noticed that she was doing a lot of things that I was doing, kind of doing the engagement, onboarding, just being a people's person, which I'm good at. So I started talking to her and I was like, hey, what is IO psychology? And my school was in Macon. My grandfather lives there, and I drove past my university, and they had a sign saying "I am psychology online." So I felt like it was a sign. So the requirement was just Psych 101 and a bachelor's degree. So I enrolled in an undergrad semester to take Psych 101, and they actually had an undergraduate IO psychology course they were offering. So I was like, let me just really see if I want to do this. And I got in there and I loved it. It was everything I was doing, the engagement, the well-being, the caring about the workplace, everything. So I enrolled in the program. It was an 18-month program, so I just finished in December. And I loved it. It was everything. I was like, wow, it was a career, controlling a career. It was just, that was me. I actually got a lot of it. The classes were very tailored towards what the degree field offers. I actually ended up being published. I published a paper about non-work stressors, which is something that was really dear to me, stress in the workplace. And so, I'm currently on the job search. I had an interview date I think went very well. So, I'm just here to kind of, answer you guys' question. I did get some things in my inbox that I want to address, but that's pretty much my background story, how I got to the IO field.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And again, everybody's welcome to use your little hand to raise your hand, and so I can keep track of everybody if you want to participate. I love that one. I love your story because when I was looking for different speakers and then I saw chemistry, but then you were doing IO, and then I was like, wait, I think we had somebody in this meetups one time who had a background in zoology and was wanting to transfer over to IO, and she was asking questions around how am I going to use this here? And so then it brought all those questions back up because I feel like most of the IOs I've talked to and that I've met, we have a background and a different career. And then we found our way to IO, and we realized we didn't really want it to do that first thing we chose. It was this, what we wanted to do. But then I've also, through conversation, I've learned that a lot of those skills that we've learned in the past are transferable to what we're doing. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It does not matter if it's chemistry, if it's counseling, if it's zoology. All of those skills you can learn and use in IO. So I'm curious as to how are you using those skills, how are you using those skills to use your lens, your IO lens, as you move forward and as you're moving through job searches and the use of LinkedIn. I know you have a very awesome take on LinkedIn. So tell us about that.
So one thing about chemistry, everyone knows research. So IO is all about collecting data. So the employee surveys, the engagement surveys. So I'm a data girl. Chemistry is all about doing the research, getting the data, doing an experiment, trying it over, hypothesis. So I'm able to take that analytical mindset and apply it to IO, where it's like, I can do the research. Now, translating on the resume, I feel like it's hard because chemistry is chemistry. So I've kind of exhausted as much as I can say it. So one thing I utilize in my job search is a cover letter. Cover letter has been my best friend to really tell my story and kind of say, hey, this is how this relates to this. Because a lot of people, even today in my interview, she was like, so your resume doesn't say HR. Can you kind of explain it to me? So I was able to talk her through it and say, hey, a lot of these skills do transfer over. The research is one. So one thing that fits perfect with chemistry is people analytics, because that's all about the data. But that's one reason why I'm leaving chemistry. I'm over data. I just want to be with the people. So that's one thing I leave. Another skill that I have is just training and development. One thing about chemistry is very meticulous. I don't know if you guys remember your titrations, but a titration, one little drop can make the titration go from clear to pink. And you got to start all the way over. So if you don't want to start a whole titration over, you take your time and you learn how to pay attention to details, which is another thing that IO needs, looking at the details, making sure payroll is done correctly. So it's a lot of things that transfer over that you may not think. So that's one thing that I went into it too, hey, a lot of these things do transfer over. It's not just IO, and that's also a unique perspective I bring because I am an analytical science mind. I look at everything from a science standpoint. One thing I do on LinkedIn, I have a series called the IO Lens where I look at pop culture, movies, TV shows, and I break it down from an IO standpoint. I just did Get Out this week. I've done The Grinch. I did Christopher Robin. IO is everywhere, and I'm just trying to put that out there. And one thing I can say is I get on LinkedIn and I use what I know to put myself out there. And it has given me interviews and people are reaching out to me, asking me questions, even you doing this meetup today. So I would say, even though you don't have a job, you present yourself with the knowledge that you do have. And that's what I do. I leverage my knowledge and I combine both of my skills because at the end of the day, it is a STEM field. This is science. So they all connect together. It's just a matter of connecting the pieces for the people. And one thing I like to do is breaking stuff down in simple terms. Even in science, I would break something down very simple. I teach kids and something on the weekend at Georgia Tech. I did a couple activities and I've done some stuff with daycares. So I'm able to just break stuff down to simple because what I realized is not that people don't understand. You have to give it to a way where people can't understand and make it relatable. So doing movies. Everyone watches movies. We all watch Netflix shows. So if I can say, hey, even in this movie, they having work burnout, they're having stress, all this stuff is there. So it makes you kind of look at IO all around you. And that's one thing that I'm able to relate between that and chemistry, because chemistry is all around us as well.
I love that. Whenever we spoke before this call, when was that? Like weeks ago? I don't even know what time
Maybe
it is.
like a month ago. Maybe
I remember it was cold and now it's hot and it's just but one thing that you said really stuck with me and it changed the way that I navigate through LinkedIn. Even like today I was on it and I was like, wait, you said that LinkedIn is a social media platform. And sometimes we forget that. And we forget that LinkedIn really is for us to market ourselves and to show off who we are truly authentically. And I think sometimes because we see all of these different ways other people have used LinkedIn, we fall into that little box where we have to show up very professional. We have to show up in these ways that, like for me, I did a lot of code switching, doing and saying things a specific way and presenting myself in specific outfits. And now that made me really think about, okay, so if I am, even when I was looking for a job and even now looking for opportunities just for growth, I think of that, how can I just be myself and show that off because there's so much that I can offer and it doesn't have to be just my resume or my job experience or the skills that I have. There's so much more to me and this is the platform that I can use to show that off to people. Can you tell us more about those thoughts? Because that like blew my mind when you shared that with me.
Yes, and that's my chemistry mindset. So I just hit 90 days on LinkedIn posting consistently. So I've been doing a little test, like I'm a chemist. So I was looking at times to post. LinkedIn is a global website. So people are on LinkedIn all times, even while we're sleeping. And I found that 2:00 in the morning, which is like 7 in UK time, it's a totally different LinkedIn vibe. Like the UK, they really, and like Africa, they really use LinkedIn as social media. And I realized, I'm like, hey, this is totally different than when America is awake. So when I got into that kind of mindset and just watching the landscape, I actually coined myself the LinkedIn creep because honestly, I hated everything LinkedIn. Like when I first, like I didn't like it. I'm like, why would you put your information, high school, college, all the things that are like your password protection stuff on a site for somebody to come steal your data? So I just didn't like the idea of it. And that's just my IT military background family as well. So I thought it was creepy just going up to strangers. Hey, connect with me, follow me. It's like, I don't know you. Like, why would I do that? So I had to kind of shift my mindset. Like, hey, this is creepy. I accept this is creepy, but this is also social media. And also this is my workplace now. Like I'm looking for a job. So Contrella, how do you work in the workplace? I talk to people. So I'm in the comments on strangers creeping, just, hey, how you doing? Talking like I just know you, like you're my cousin, friend, whoever. I'm just talking to people. And what I realized is LinkedIn also wants you, they like the engagement. So they want you to talk to people. So people are going to talk back, believe it or not. They're going to talk back to you, even though they don't know you, because they're like, hey, who are you? And one thing I can say, I don't have premium LinkedIn, so I haven't been able to test that side of it, so I really don't know. But, like, the views that I can't see on my page are crazy, so it's all over the place. So that's one thing I had to do is just kind of act how I act in the workplace. So I'm a people's person. I go talk to different departments. I connect. I'm able to be a resource to people. So I was doing that on LinkedIn. Hey, you're in IO, let me add you. You're in IO, let me add you. Connect, follow, talk, and, then kind of just learning that LinkedIn formula, and also saying, hey, this is social media. And I'm kind of funny, I think. I want to be a comedian too. Like, I need to just pick one career. So, I kind of have the jokes. Like I'm very witty, so I'm able to say stuff quick. So that's one thing I bring too, because one thing I realized being on LinkedIn and not have been fun is you see a lot of I can't find a job. It's been months, years to all these applications. It got very depressing for me. It's like I don't want to get on here and see everyone talking about can't find a job. Yeah, I can't either. So it's like, let me bring a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of light to this platform to kind of say, hey, it's okay, and let's have jokes too. And also, I kind of the mindset, hey, this is who I am. So if someone sees my LinkedIn, they don't like something, it's like, that's not the company for me, because one thing that I realized, a lot of people use their LinkedIn as their employer's page. It's your page. Like, you are marketing yourself, not your company. Like, if you are scared of what your employer may say, go read your handbook and figure out what your company policy is about social media. But no, it's not an extension of X company, Y company. It's your page. So they're coming to get Contrella. So this is who Contrella is. I have jokes. I can be serious, but I'm multifaceted. I'm not just a worker. So it's like, that's one thing I'm trying to show too. Like, hey, my next employer, like, this is me. I'm not going to stop LinkedIn when I get this job, because I also like the connection I'm making. I'm able to meet with students, you guys, like, a lot of people who didn't, when I first got out of undergrad, I didn't know a lot of stuff. I'm a second generation college student. My mom graduated years ago. So the game has changed. So like the importance of internships, like just networking. Even when I went back to my master's, I'm working. So I was like, oh, I should have got an internship, and realized that internships are like the next summer. So it was too late by the time I wanted to apply. So just learning those things, to connecting with people. Like, I'm working with a student now who, I went on a group and she had a comment on there like, hey, I need help. And it had been like 2 months and no one said anything. So I was like, hey, let me help you, because I know that feeling of I'm doing what you guys tell me to do and I'm not getting any luck. So that's kind of what I've been doing with LinkedIn lately.
I love it. I don't know if anybody's here for the first time. I do see some new names. The reason why this group was created was exactly that reason. A lot of us, we have various different backgrounds and experiences. And when I'm a first generation, when I started my master's program, I was like, all right, as soon as I finish this, somebody's going to come and offer me a job. Obviously, I have a master's now, right? No one came. And I think I was like a month or two before I was graduating that I realized I needed to do internships. And I'm like, so yeah, we have the internet, but I didn't have anybody in my life to say, hey, you need to get these things on track and you need to do these things in order to be an eligible whatever. So somebody wants to hire you. So then I realized through some informational interviews that I realized I needed to do that were super helpful, but I did not know I needed. And through just some of that networking on LinkedIn, I realized, wait, this is not like common knowledge unless you have some people in your family or in your circle that's being educated or that's had different opportunities, not in my circle, not in my family. So I said, well, why don't we just create a place where we can come in, we can have people who are practitioners or professionals in IO, and we can ask them questions like, how the hell do you get there? How did you do that? Because I feel like networking is very serious. In some places you gotta have your work attire on and your work attitude on. And I wanted to have a place where we could have conversations like this, like, hey, I can find work. How are you navigating this? And sometimes that can be frustrating and it can be soul-sucking. But I think what you've been able to do is to even share with us and teach us. IO is not just when you're at work. Like when you get the role, that's not where IO begins. IO begins in the way that you see things, in the way that you navigate your opportunities. And I think you're like a perfect example of, hey, how can I use the skills that I have to not only connect, but also create community and then share what I know. Because then you're going a step further and saying, let me help you. I've been there. Let me share what I've done. I think that's really powerful.
So yeah, it's kind of the old saying, be the change you want to see. And that's really what I even got into IO for, because I'm in these workplaces and it's like people want to work. It's just, it can always be better. So that's one thing that I would say too. Like, even I thought going to IO, it'd be like, oh, IO, just a straight line. Because like I said, I've done so much with chemistry. No, IO is just as vast, if not vaster, than chemistry. Like, there's so much you can do. So one thing I would say, try to figure out exactly what you want to do in IO. Like, for me, I know I want to do training and development. Like, that's one thing that I really kind of lean towards. Just, I'm a good trainer because I like to get how people think about stuff. Because I feel like you can teach anybody anything. Like, before college, people used to be lawyers because they would go sit next to a lawyer, and that's how they became a lawyer. There was no bar. It was like, hey, sit next to me, and I'll teach you what I know, and now you're a lawyer. So I feel like that's still a thing. Like, we're oratorical people. Like, we're going back to kind of hieroglyphic with our emoji talk. So a lot of stuff is becoming nonverbal. So it's like we actually sit down and figure out what people, how they're thinking. Like, that's how I train. Like, I kind of put stuff in there, but I train like, hey, watch me do it. I'm gonna watch you do it. Now, what are you thinking when you mess up? Because I want to really know how you're doing stuff. So that's why I'm leaning more towards training development. A lot of people, HR is kind of there, people analytics, like there's so much you can do. So I would say first thing, try to focus on what you want to do. And when you figure out what you want to do, then go from there and kind of tailor your search around that. One thing I would say is like, job is not going to say IO practitioner or IO. It's going to be talent development, talent acquisition, people analytics. It's so many titles. Like I have a list that my professor gave us in college, but it's so many different titles. And you really have to look outside of just your LinkedIn's and your Indeed and Glassdoor. Sometimes you have to go to the company and see what they're doing as well. So the job search can get crazy. One thing I will say is keep a list of what you're applying to, like following up. Like I know the ghosting thing is so bad. I've been ghosted. It's the worst feeling ever. Like I want to like just say no or like don't tell me anything at all. So I would get better by that. But one thing I do as well, because I know my resume strength chemistry, is if I do get an email from someone that's a person and not automated, I say, hey, like, can you give me feedback? Like, what am I missing? Like, what can I do? And I've actually done that. And a lady gave me tips and was like, hey, apply again. And, that led to an interview, but it wasn't the job for me. But, it was like, so just being honest with myself too, like, hey, I'm kind of with you. I got a master's. Like, it's certain stuff that I'm just not settling for right now because I feel like, hey, I worked this hard. Like, yes, I'm coming in new, but my 10 years of chemistry matter, and they're going to help me over here as well. So, kind of having that luxury of being like, hey, I'm going to work for what I really want, and that's why I got here. So even like me helping people out, that's kind of an entrepreneur, which is kind of why I got into IO too, because I like the consulting idea of it too, like working for myself, like being able to help people as just Contrella because I am the talent. So that's one thing that I got into it too. So I think really figuring out what you want to do in the field is kind of the first step of figuring out how to tailor the next steps.
I think that's a good point. And I would even take it a step further and figure out what kind of company do you want to work for? Because my title right now is like I'm a faculty consultant. I don't even know what that is. But our job is just so broad. Like we do so much. But I actually landed there because I really wanted to work with this company. I'd been trying to get in for a couple of years, and finally I was able to get in. But everything that they stand for and the work that they do really spoke to my heart and soul. So that helped me kind of get whatever job until I was able to get there. But even the jobs that I had before, even though it felt like they didn't have a lot of IO related, I think I did institutional research in a community college. That was even like a lot of data, a lot of analytics, and a lot of different things from the IO perspective that I had no clue was a part of our field too. So even if you get in a job that you feel doesn't really align with IO, there's always alignment. And I would definitely suggest reach out to mentors, get into mentor programs. Which shout out to Tiana, who's going to be in BIOP, doing the presentation on impact on mentoring. Really get somebody that's going to help you to get where you need to go, because unfortunately, a lot of us don't have resources and the information to know how to get there or the connections to get into places. So when you start connecting intentionally, I think it really does make a difference in your career development and how you're experiencing this whole thing. So, and thank you for mentioning that part too, that your 10 years in chemistry matters. I think sometimes because we're students and we're just graduated, we don't take into account all of the other stuff that we've done and all of the information and skills that we bring into a role. So thank you for mentioning that, because that's very true. It's very true.
Yeah, I think you brought up like the mentor stuff is good too, because I've sent Nicole emails on LinkedIn like, hey, I'm Contrella, this is my story. And that's giving me some stuff back too. Like, hey, this is some advice. Some people don't have, can't really offer help. We're just like, good luck, congratulations, all those things. So I think it's just also really about putting yourself out there. And what I realized in being on LinkedIn for 90 days straight was like, it's really the effort you put into it. Like, if you really want to see something, you have to put it out there, put yourself out there. So like this week, I'm kind of like, I had a lot going on, interviews, it was just, I'm working on another paper, and like it's just a lot going on for me. So I haven't really been out there, and I can see the difference. Like, okay, LinkedIn is one of those things where you get in what you put out. So I think that's one thing to say too. Like, so if you really want to make LinkedIn work for you, you have to make it work for you. Like figuring out what that is. So at first I started posting just 3 days a week, like they said. Hey, post 3 days a week. Okay. Then it's like, okay, let me post 3 days a week and let me engage some more. So it's time I worked up to it. So it wasn't just happen overnight. And that's one thing I would say, like, we're kind of in this instant microwave thing. Everything happened now. It really does take time to see the change. So, and then like when I really decided to say, hey, I'm not code switching on LinkedIn, you're going to get Contrella. That's when I really noticed like, oh, this feels so much freer. Like I don't feel like I'm in a corporate workplace. I really feel like I'm just being Contrella on LinkedIn. So I'll say that's really the mindset, to have that and just getting a mentor. And that's how I got a mentor. Like actually my career, like inspiration added me on LinkedIn. So I kind of had a moment where I was like, oh my God, like, but her name is Sierra Gross. She has a company called Cage Birds, and it's a third-party HR. And they have an app called Work Receipt, which allows you to kind of keep track of all the stuff happening in the workplace, good or bad. And it has an AI in there named Jayla. So if something's happened, like you're dealing with retaliation, it gives you information based on your state laws and everything, kind of helps you along the process. And I just love her mission because that's one thing, I'm in this for helping others. And she actually made the app premium settings free because of everything going on in the country now. And I just love that. So I reached out. I just added her on LinkedIn when I first got on there. Like, hey, I get all the celebrities. And I reached out to her. And I don't know what happened, but she added me. And I was like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. So even the fact that I'm connected with her and we've had a conversation in private messages. So it's like, who knows what can come out of that, So it's like just even having that happen. It's like things do happen and it just takes time. So just put yourself out there. Like you never know. Even I was on somebody comment because I was trying to get 1,000 followers. It didn't happen, but it's okay. It was the principle of just putting myself out there. But I was on somebody comment and I realized this person was like, had 1 million. I had no idea who they were. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, if you don't have time to review my page to see if it's like, don't worry about it. And people found that funny because I had no idea who she was. And so that's one thing too, like get rid of the titles. Like I don't look at people's titles. I just look at these as people. Like, because one thing I realize is they will engage with you. Like no matter the numbers, they want the engagement. And I can tell the difference between when I start engaging, how to make other people engage. And that's one thing I do in the workplace. Like I would be that sunshine where it's like, hey, it's okay to laugh, y'all. We don't have to be serious all the time. So I just started taking that mindset on LinkedIn. Like I said, on LinkedIn, like, hey, I'm just going to be like, just be me and like see people engage and engage back and have conversations. And it makes it a different experience for sure.
Yeah. I think it's more important now than ever to really work on ourselves as professionals, to truly bring ourselves to work, bring our authentic selves to work, and to, I think, demand that of the companies. And, because I think you said something, sorry, my thing is going off. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm baking and just ignore it. My brain can't multifunction. So
I didn't even notice it until you said something. So you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like things go on and my brain's like, what is happening? So I'm completely distracted. But I was going somewhere with that comment. I think because IO is something that's not very truly understood. There's a lot of work that we're having to do on a daily basis to educate people on this is what we do, this is who we are, this is how we can help you. But also with everything that is happening in the world. I mean, there's in the UK, Europe, there's many things changing and they're not very kind based. I think we can always bring that back into why we need those things in place, why we need IO in the workplace. I think being yourself and, like you said, bringing the laughter, bringing the space to just have conversations and meet each other and truly get to know each other, rather than just trying to see what social media shows. And I don't know, I think I'm just going on a rant here, but I think it's important to do what we do, bring IO into every space that we can, and truly just be ourselves. To work on ourselves enough to be comfortable with who we are so that we can bring that into the workplace, because that's important. We want to be sunshines, not all the time. We want to be sunshines in the workplace.
Right. And like you said, going back to the picking the company you work for, that's one thing that I would say do your research. Like really make sure you're working for companies that align with what you're trying to do and like meet their value. One thing I tell people is like you should know your company handbook like you know how to drive a car. Like because they hold you to those standards, you should know those standards. And that's one thing that I love about IO is like we have our standards, but we also bring our person, our character in it as well. So one thing that I make sure that I try to do is look at what's going on, but also realize that people have experiences too. Like that's why I said like my 10 years of chemistry are going to matter towards my new job because I'm not going to just erase them. So just making sure you figure out a company like what they stand for and that you align with that. Like that's one thing that we learned at IO. Like, hey, make sure there's values and goals that you stand for and like what are you doing? One thing my professor always asked us, like, are you living to work? Are you working to live? And that's kind of that stuck with me. Like, you know, a lot of people are living to work, you know, but it's like I want to work to live. And I think when you get those, it's really about mind shift change because I really feel like every company should have an IO. Like it should be there, especially with AI coming. And one thing my next paper is touching on is I'm looking at the different generations in the workplace and how each generation thinks differently about things and how, you know, it makes a difference how we move through workplace, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of things are happening faster now, so I don't have to wait the 10 years at a company to move up. You know, one thing when I was in chemistry, I did contract work, so I was getting a new job every year. Like I was moving up every year doing everything, and I loved it because it did give me a lot of insights, and I worked at small, big, large, and it's able to all come together. That's why I feel that way too. Like, no, all of those things helped me get somewhere to the point where I even started a candle business because I just learned all this stuff about packaging and safety stuff. So everything works together for your good, you know, really. So I think just really figuring out what you want to do is really the main thing, you know, and once you figure it out, I think the rest will work out.
Thank you for that. I think there's a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go down up because I missed some messages. But how have you been researching and publishing, and where do you publish? William also has some projects going on too, so is wondering.
Yeah, so I did a white paper. So if you're not familiar with white paper is just an easier, digestible way to write a topic. So what I did was I just put it out there. I got published through the Positive Psychology Guild out of the UK. They were the first people I reached out to, and they picked it up. So one thing about white papers or just any research, you have to, I would say, do it one at a time because if you do multiple and they kind of both pick you or kind of process, it'll be, you know, kind of hard to read that, or you don't want to kind of put a sour taste in the mouth of the ones you don't pick. So I would just say, depending on white papers or even just regular research, look at the place you want to be published, the topic area. They normally have information on their website about where you can look at publishing. Like I know the Howard Business, they're pretty intense. Like you got to write even more than what you wrote in your paper to kind of get in there. So that kind of determined. Like I was tired of writing at that point. But that is something you can do. And what I will say, like even this company, I kind of created a relationship with them where I did the paper. I wrote it for a class. So it wasn't even like I was just doing research. It was like, hey, I did it for a class. My professor said I can get it published, and that became my goal. So I wrote it in December, submitted it in January. It got accepted in January, but it didn't get published till October 2024 because they were switching over websites. And now I have a relationship where I'm writing another paper. I'm going to speak at their conference in May. So it created a relationship where, hey, now I'm published by myself, not with a group of people. It's me academically, which I never thought would happen. So it's just open. But so I said, you really just got to put yourself out there. You know, it even made me want like, okay, I can write a book now, you know? So I'm looking at writing a book. So if you want to do like a book, they like Penguin and Wiley, you do like a proposal when they accept it and there's a contract. Penguin's more of like same thing, but you got to bring your own lawyer because they do contracts and stuff. So and you can always self-publish. You know, a lot of people do that. So I would just say it just depends on what route you want to do. So I'm kind of doing the white paper. Some people get paid for white papers. I'm not getting paid for mine. But, you know, it's more so a labor of love for me. But it led to me going to this conference where we'll be getting paid. So sometimes I realize you got to, you know, do the free stuff to get the money in return. And that's one thing that I'm really learning. Like when you put yourself out there, you really be surprised how much will come back to you.
Awesome. I like that. I think It's so wonderful to hear when there's all these new things that you can be doing. I think sometimes we can feel like, oh, I just graduated. What could I potentially do? And it's like the world, you can do everything. The world is your oyster. You can go out there and just have, such an impact. So I know this is kind of off script, but can you tell us a little bit about that conference in May and what you will be presenting?
So I just found out today. So it's through the public
Congratulations.
psychology. Thank you, public, because they were like doing the background stuff. So it's through the positive psychology guild out of the UK. Their topic is diversity and inclusion. So like I said, I just learned out, but my topic is going to be over the different generations in the workplace. So that's what I'm writing about. So that's what I'm speaking about. Then there's going to be two other speakers. It's online, so I will share it with you when I get it. It's going to be their UK time, so to be 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here, but it's 7 to 9 there. So it's a 2-hour event. I'm really excited about it. So even doing this is like practice for me because I was like, oh my God, how many people? So I really appreciate you for this because I told Gabby, I was like, Gabby, how many people? Like, she was like, Shirley, it's okay. And I was like, no, I want small numbers, not a lot of people. It was like 50 people on LinkedIn. So thank you guys for the 14 of you who are here. I really appreciate it. So even this is like practice. That's what I'm saying. It's all working out where, hey, I'm doing this. I'm getting my feet wet. So when I go to the bigger stage, I have that because my goal is one day to give a TED talk. Like I'm a TED talk girl, so I want to give a TED talk. So even that for me is practice for that, and it's just building a resume. Like because like I said, I am the talent. It's not X company, Y company that makes Contrella great. It's Contrella. So just putting myself out there, and like you say, crazy. I'm delusional, y'all. Like I'm I'm delusional when I come to the stuff I can do. Like I have a goal. I'm going to have a Rolls Royce by the end of this year. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I am delusional enough to think that that's going to happen. So even me saying I'll get academically published, like who knew? So I would say that's the conference. And just, so again, it's like it all comes together. So I'm just really excited about that.
Awesome. I love that. I feel like the majority of us are just trying to figure it out and we're just like, screw
Yeah.
it. We're just gonna do it. And I almost cussed, but I guess we can. Maybe not, but it's because it's SEBOC thing. But screw it. We can just figure it out, fake it till we make it. And I love that because even when I invited you to speak here, you were just, it's pure delusion and you were nervous and you're doing such an amazing job. So you're gonna kill it
Yeah.
when you get there. I don't even know why you're worried.
Yeah. I was like, Gabby, why did you reach out to me? Like, and even get like example, Gabby was like, hey, Control, I saw your LinkedIn. I was like, really? Like, these people are looking at this? I mean, I see it, but you want me to speak? So even this example here is like, it came from me applying on LinkedIn. Gabby was creeping on my page, I guess, and saw like, hey, this girl looks amazing. So you never know what'll come out of it, honestly. So yeah, I thank you for that. I hope I do well.
Yeah, I'm definitely a creeper. I'll be reading people's profiles and I think it's amazing. I love seeing what IO people are doing and what their background is and what they're up to now and what they think about things. It's such a cool little window into somebody's brain. So I am a creeper. I'm just gonna say that. I may just creep on people's LinkedIn profiles, which by the way, if you want to share your LinkedIn, you can on the chat box and then just follow each other if you want. Sometimes I forget to say that. But William said, thank you for the response. That's super helpful. The project is very multidisciplinary and integrates different concepts. Does anyone know a journal that would be interested in mixed psychological, sociological, and philosophical on the theoretical scale? Ooh, I
That's a
don't
hard one.
today, right now. If you drop us your email, William, maybe I can look into this and share
Yeah.
it with some contacts or my peeps and see if they know. Um,
Because you could do each one individually as well. You could do like a sociology one because they all kind of one thing about positive psychology. It one thing they're getting slack on that they mix a lot of different. They mix sociology, psychology. So they're kind of like, what is this positive psychology? You just taking off of everybody else. So you could probably put that somewhere in any of those types of journals as well. So it just depends.
hmm.
Yeah.
um, Yeah, and I would probably just drop your email or something, and that way we can, or connect with LinkedIn. That way we can probably ask around. But if we don't get you an answer, I would definitely suggest looking into people's profiles on LinkedIn that have already done that, and then maybe scheduling informational profiles. I mean, informational interviews. A lot of people don't mind just sharing some of their time with you and giving you some information. Um, I did have another question about internships or part-time roles that we would recommend for gaining practical experience while job hunting. I will say that the first one that comes to mind is the one by Bridgify, the Bridgify group. I don't know if anybody's heard of them. They do a research. I can't think of the name. I'm gonna Google it here in a little bit and I'll share it with you. But they technically help you bring research into and making it practical. So then you go through this various meetups and tasks, and you eventually come up with a practical solution from research. And they're technically helping students. And what they do is they bridge that gap, because sometimes we do have a lot of research, but it doesn't make it into the workplace. So they're able to do that. They do have an internship and they have a program that you can join to learn those skills. That was super helpful. I did that last year and it was really fun. I really, really enjoyed it. If you're more into the research-ish part of this, I would definitely recommend. Does anything come to mind, Contrella, for you?
I applied for one at Visa. Visa has one that they do during the summer. One thing I would say that I ran into, like a lot of these internships, you have to have either a year or at least a semester left when you're doing the internship. So I'm in Atlanta, so Delta has one on a federal. OPM does one for IO, like if you want to get an internship with them. I also Google had one that I was looking at, but like for me it was like a little too late. So just check out companies that you like. They may have one. One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of companies going back kind of into that old model of getting new recruits out of college, because I feel like when I graduated undergrad in 2015, that wasn't a thing anymore. It's like, go figure it out. So a lot of people are leaning more towards kind of getting that class of people. Like one thing I drew into the Visa internship, it was like kind of like a rotational one where you went through different departments in Visa, like HR wise. So I kind of like the idea of being able to go through different departments over the summer and learn stuff. So those are the ones I can think of off track. But I'll say any company, like you said, any company you're interested in, just check and see they have one. And also you could be the first. Reach out to a company in your local area and say, hey, I want to do an internship here. Is there anything I can help with? Or, you never know what come out of that. Like I know during chemistry in college, we didn't have internship. Most people don't let a undergraduate student come in their chemistry lab and mess with stuff. So the professors had to kind of build that relationship. But one thing they did is went out to the companies in the area and say, hey, we got some students who want to kind of build this program. So you could be the first to set it up in your community with a local business. So you just never know. Just really go out there to putting yourself out there and being delusional, saying, hey, I want to do this. And also being not afraid to, because some of those things are paid, but also doing stuff that's not paid. Just giving your time because you want to gain the knowledge as well.
Yeah, I would definitely say follow me and Contrella on LinkedIn. I sometimes just, and not for the follows, but sometimes I comment on things that I see on somebody else's, so that people can see it on my network. But there's been, especially right now at the beginning of the year, there's been a lot of opportunities that have been coming up, just for internships and opportunities. But I'm completely with you. I feel like I've been very much delusional at the beginning of my career in IO, just, believing in myself first so that people can believe in me. In things such as asking my business owner friends to do a business analysis, just so they understand what organizational culture is, and so they understand how that can actually not have a potential benefit if they don't have a good culture. Things like that. You can always have, if you just don't have a lot of resources. I live in southern New Mexico, so there's not a lot going on down here. I started doing some workshops and trainings online. I started teaming up and networking with other people who are into just sharing what they know. So there's a lot of different ways. I know sometimes it can be frustrating because we want the linear that we want the job and we want the internship and we want the but the good thing about IO is that we can get very creative. We can do all kinds of things and then still support what we're doing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're straying away from our path, but really we're using our skills to show people, hey, this is what I can do for you. Because a lot of people don't know what we can do for them. So I hope that's helpful. I will get with you, Contrella, if that's okay after this call.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you so we can put those things in paper and then I will post them as after this call or maybe by the end of the weeks because I know.
Yeah, and I created a what I call the graduate game plan because for the student I found on LinkedIn who needed help. So it's just like for those who are undergraduate or even those in grad school, just kind of things you should do going to get into a master's program or just little tips on what to do, like personal statement and the internships and stuff. So I'll send you that as well to share with everybody. And one thing you brought up for me is you can do this in some of the industry. There's a person I follow on LinkedIn. I think her name is Tamika, I want to say. Don't quote me. But she actually does this in daycare spaces. So she goes to daycare and she's creating like IO friendly daycare, which she's making sure like the soft space. It's just amazing what she's doing in a daycare space with IO. So I'm like, oh, let me apply to schools. So it's like you really can do IO in any field, any industry. You're not just limited to HR, corporate, like you said, even asking your friends who have business, like, hey, let me help you, and it keeps you sharp as far as your skills and practices as well, so that's good.
Absolutely. So we're getting close to the end of this call, which is so sad. But if anybody has to go, thank you so much for coming. This next few minutes, we spend them talking about what the guest believes we should be working on for the next month. I'm doing this bi-monthly now. Life got a little hectic for me, so I can't do them bi-weekly. But our next guest will actually be helping us in the search for jobs and networking. And if you don't follow her, please do. She has so many resources, just free resources she posts online. So, Contrella, what are some things that we should be working on for the next month and a half before we meet up again so that we can move our journey forward? What do you think?
I would say if you're currently in a program, internship. Summer's coming up, so start trying to secure those internships. Like a lot of those deadlines are coming up around March, April is, so get the internship. I saw someone missing the conference. I'm not going to SIOP, but I'm trying to go to SIOP in April. So if you can't go to conferences, try to sign up for a conference. That's where everyone comes together, the networking. So try to get into a conference. I actually, like I said, I want to do training development. So there was a training development coming up. Like there's so many conferences going on. So pick the one that's best for you. So do that. Also, I'm in some organizations. So reorganizations from Honor. So look and see what they have. Like I applied for a scholarship for Pi Kappa Pi. So like just trying to see those resources, getting scholarships. Because one thing we forget when we're in school, like you still can get scholarships. So look at scholarships if you're in school or if you're interested in a program. And then also if you're trying to get in, admission deadlines are coming up. A lot of people are looking at March, April for deadlines. So I just say, focus on those next term. And then if you're in the job market, first quarter is where jobs start opening up. So I have seen more traction with jobs right now in February, March. A lot of companies are picking up. So, be hopeful that more jobs are coming. And like I said, actually go to the companies that you want to apply to, not just focus on LinkedIn or Indeed, because some places are just on their website. So, and then one tool I use is ONET. ONET is a tool that kind of gets you into that salary range of what what you want to get into HR, and then also looking at what professional, because one thing about IO, we don't have like a licensing. So you have to get your licensing based on what you want to do. So if you want to do SHRM or talent and development, looking at those licensing, kind of doing that continuous education. One thing I've done a course in HR to kind of get that, I know I'm a chemist, so let me say, hey, I have done some HR knowledge. So just trying to, like you said, it's really about putting the pieces together that work for you. So just trying to figure out what that is and then putting those pieces together in the best way to fit for you.
Yes. They're asking, Diana's asking if you...
It's the company is ATD. I'm not sure the actual conference date and stuff, but the governing body is ATD. accredited training development, I think. But I'll make sure when we do the email that I'll put that in there as well. But yeah, but I think ATD is the name of the company for the training development.
Awesome. Um, Another thing that came to mind when you were talking about the internships is finding those conferences. And if you can attend, you can volunteer, especially if they're online. I know for me, I needed to have a full-time job and I couldn't just go to things or do unpaid internships. If you're there, I understand the struggle. Sometimes you have to get really, really creative. But you can volunteer for online conferences, or you can volunteer for any local, anything local that you can align it with what you do, your IO, and then you can, show that off as something that you're working on. I think one of the biggest reminders I want everyone to have is LinkedIn is a social platform. So use it to your advantage. It is not for anybody to go and look at you and pick you. You get to pick who you want to work with. You get to pick where you take your skills because you're valuable. We're very, very valuable in what we do and the work that we are working and perfecting and going to school for. So I think I want to bring that value back to us because that stays here. We take it into the workplace. So, Contrella, when people find you? What do you want to do? Are you open to informational interviews if people want that? How do you want people reaching out to you if you want
Yeah,
that?
so I put my LinkedIn in there, so you're welcome to follow me, connect me on LinkedIn. I don't have like an official thing. I'm working on it. I do have a company name I'm working on because like I said, like we've been saying, I am the product. So I am working on something. So I will share with you, it's going to be called Diverted Solutions because I'm a diverted thinker. Like I like the movie Divergent. So I'm working on that. So I'm open to talk to anybody, help. I'm a helper. So like I said, this is practice for me. So send me a private message. My LinkedIn's on there. And yeah, if you just need help, I'm here. I'm here to help because like I said, I want to be that help that I didn't have at the time for somebody else because we're all in this together. Like we're all figuring out along the way. And like I said, we're all going to get that job that we want or that career goal that we have. It's going to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. If anybody else have any questions, please feel free to either message me on LinkedIn or message Contrella, whatever you feel most comfortable with. We really want this space to be a place where you can come and ask questions, figure it out as we go with us. We don't have it figured out, but we can definitely walk the path with you. I'm going to have another guest in June. If you want to go back to the SEBOC event website and look at what's happening, the SEBOC has, in addition to this, they do a podcast which you can participate in. And then if you do speak up and participate in the conversation, they will give you a shout out and you can say that you contributed to the podcast. It's a pretty cool thing. They have a lot of really awesome resources. There's actually one in Spanish too, for IO through SEBOC. That one's actually kind of cool. So there's a bunch of different things with IO. They have a pop-up community network, and then they have, I can't remember what the other one is, but it's happening this week. So go to the SEBOC events website and then look at all the things that are happening, sign up. A lot of it, I think all of them are free, unless you have a membership that you pay with them, which is super cheap. And then you get some additional stuff that you can get into. So, but yeah, connect with Contrella. Definitely follow. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do this year. I feel like you're just going to go and do the freaking most. And I'm so excited for you.
Delusional included. Delusional included.
From delusion to action, and that's all that matters.
Yes. Look, I'm putting it on a t-shirt.
There you go. That's going to be your logo. Yes.
I'm all about reminders. And that's one thing to say, like constant reminders of like, hey, what you're working towards. So yeah, I think, thank you. Again, thank you for having me, guys. Thank you for attending. I really appreciate that. I hope you guys learned something. I don't know if I gave something to learn, but I gave me. So thank you guys.